The importance of flow in Qigong. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. Okay, so this one was another request. Someone, it's quite a general sort of topic, the importance of flow in Qigong, but they asked for a video on this. And yeah, it's a topic I probably wouldn't have thought of because it's something that's so inherent with Qigong. It's kind of, well, I guess it depends how much you know about Qigong. It's just like, it's kind of so obvious that you don't even think to even necessarily talk about or examine it. But maybe I can say a few things that are interesting about this that might give some healthy, useful perspective for people who are either new to Qigong or working with their Qigong, and it might help them to, understand a few things better about that in terms of what they focus on within their practice. Because we do naturally focus on flow a lot within Qigong. Within movements, when we're moving, we're often focusing on the flow of our movement being very smooth. And there's a few reasons for this. One is when we flow in a smooth way, so just physical movements, it means generally we're going to be putting less wear and tear on our body. Less strain on the ligaments, the muscles, the joints, less pressure on nerves, on blood vessels, and so on. And so that is going to keep our bodies healthier. It's going to develop habits of smooth movement that will carry through into other things that we do. And yeah, we won't be putting little bits of wear and tear on our body, and we'll last longer and feel better and have less pain and, get less tired and all those sorts of things. So that's a very simple, basic level, just having smooth flowing movements. Going beyond this, of course, Qigong is not just about physical movements. Qi is energy, Gong, skill, work. So we're working with energy, developing skill with energy. Now, how we move physically is part of developing that skill, and it's one aspect of how our energy moves. The physical movement is one part of that. But we're also very much interested in how the other aspects of our energy also flow, also move within us. Now, some of this is, has clear physical connections, so the flow of our blood, the flow of energy through our nerves, this sort of thing. And some of it's, more subtle, maybe hard for us to describe or define in really concrete, tangible ways, but we want all of our energy to flow in a smooth way. And we use a variety of different practices in order to do this. Some of them are moving, some of them are still, whether they be sitting, meditating, or of course one of the most famous type of still practice in Qigong is Zhan Zhuang practice, which is standing practices where you stand in different postures in stillness. When we're doing those still postures though, something that's really important is that we actually still want the energy to be flowing, to be moving. And in fact, when we do those practices well, the Zhan Zhuang practices, they're very good for actually really strengthening that flow of energy within us in a different way than we get from doing movements to activate and strengthen that flow. And so an interesting exercise that you can try for those of you, I'm guessing most people watching this vlog have done some Qigong. If not, watch some more of the videos. Maybe go to the Long White Cloud Qigong YouTube channel as well. There's lots of videos of different practices. Give them a try. But you might be familiar, hopefully, with both some moving Qigong practices and some still Zhan Zhuang practices. And so an interesting thing you can try to maintain a healthy flow and to really refine your awareness of your flow and develop good habits with it is to do some moving Qigong practice and get your energy flowing nice and smoothly, and then transition smoothly into a still Zhan Zhuang posture and see if you can still connect to and feel the smooth flow of energy continuing within you without a break. Not a like, I'm doing moving, now I stop, now I'm standing still, now the energy starts to flow again. But just continuing from movement into external stillness, but the flow continuing within. And then maybe go back and do physical movements again, continuing that flow, then go back into external stillness and see if you can keep that energy flowing smoothly within. It's going to create some really good habits for you, because one principle of energy is that for it to be healthy, it needs to continuously move. When it just stops, it causes all sorts of problems. It causes pain, illness, disease, and so on. It needs to constantly move. One of the analogies that we use a lot in describing how energy moves within our body, within our energy system, is that of water. There's just a tiny bit of water moving here behind me. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but there's a few drips coming down this rock face. There's a little pool at the bottom. It's nice to be filming this next to some moving water. And so as our energy moves, well, so just like water, it needs to move to be healthy. When water sits still for an extended period of time, and a good example of this is if you look in a river or in a pool that just sits still, it becomes dirty, it becomes stagnant. All of the oxygen comes out of the water, and anything in it dies. Conversely, if the water moves rapidly, that actually cleans the water. All of the sediment, all of the dirt will come out of it. It'll get oxygenated, and then moving very vigorously cleans it a lot. And then as it slows back down to a continuous but healthy flow, all of the life in and around that water flourishes. And it's similar within our bodies, within our energy systems. When the energy stops moving, we become unhealthy. It causes problems for us. When we move the energy vigorously, this can be a great way for cleansing our energy. And when we establish a continuous, gentle flow, this creates health, vitality, and well-being. And this is a big part of what we're aiming to achieve with different Qigong practices that we do. As we do this, we work with water in its different phases as well. This analogy of water carries through really well in terms of how energy moves within our bodies. So one of the ones that people are most familiar with is the organ meridians. So these are the meridians that they flow through our body, and they have a relationship to our internal organs. So this one here, this is my lung meridian here, right? My heart meridian comes from here and it comes down here. And this flow of energy through our external body affects what's going on inside our bodies. And the structure of these meridians is very much like a river. They twist and turn and they go around different parts of our anatomy. If it hits a hard bony part, it goes around it, and things like this. And so the energy flow very much like a river. That energy then gathers into what we call Dantien, so a field of energy. We can think of ourselves as just having one big field of energy that it all gathers and pulls into, or we can think of ourselves as having multiple different ones that have different qualities. But our energy gathers there, it's stored there. And these pools of energy are very much like a lake, like an ocean. When the energy goes in there, it needs to continue to move. A lake that sits still, everything dies. If the lake has currents within it, things stay healthy. The fish stay healthy, the plants stay healthy, From there, the circulation of those currents, these are the extraordinary meridians that circulate all around our whole body. And from the activity of our extraordinary meridians, this naturally puts energy out into our energy field. And so this is like the water evaporating up off the ocean and forming clouds and rain in the atmosphere. This then circulates within our energy field and is able to then come back down into our body, into wherever we need it, into all the cells and tissues of our body, like rain falling on our body. And so each of these phases, the energy flows. It doesn't stop at any point, it flows. So the rivers flow, they flow into the ocean, the Dantien. It doesn't stop there, it flows. From there it circulates out into the atmosphere. The clouds don't just hang still, they flow, they move around. The rain comes down back into the rivers and so on. So we have this continuous cycle of flow with different qualities of flow at different points in the cycle. And so different Qigong practices, sometimes, these are all going to be active to some extent within any Qigong practice. The Dantien are going to be active, the organ meridians are going to be active, the energy in our energy field is going to be active. But sometimes we use different Qigong practices to focus more directly on different parts of this flow. And so within the Long White Cloud Qigong curriculum, so some of the practices we use for this, so there's a practice called 12 Rivers, which focus on each of these organ meridians. There's one exercise for each, so we get really it helps us to develop our awareness of these meridians and to get them open, get them balanced, get that energy flowing. We then have another set of practices which is called Between Heaven and Earth. And this works with the energy gathering in the Dantien and then circulating in the extraordinary meridians, those ocean currents. That naturally then puts energy into the energy field. And then from there, we have another practice called Enter the Flow, which is about flowing with that energy in the energy field and getting it to move smoothly over, around, and into and through our whole body. And they're quite different. They contrast from one to the next to the next. Each one has a type of flow, and the nature of that type of flow is embodied within the movement. And so we experience different types of flow with our body and then also with our energy as we go through these different phases. The course that we go into all of those practices is the Small Universe Qigong course, if you're interested in that. It's a really in-depth course where we go into that, some other practices as well, breath work, a series of practices called Waking the Chi for activating our energy, meditation, and so on. Anyway, hopefully that was interesting in terms of the importance of flow in Qigong. Again, it's so inherent. It's probably not something I would have thought to talk about, but maybe there was some useful little tidbits of information in there for someone. All right, I look forward to seeing you on another one soon.